All right, guys, welcome to the Jake Shields podcast, episode number 6, following UFC 263. Obviously, Diaz was on the card. Jake, you were down there. We'll get into that. But first off, how you feeling post-traveling? I saw you guys, not only were you there for the fight, but it looked like you had a great time.
Yeah, I was down there for 5 days. It was great. I mean, I passed through Scottsdale and Phoenix Fort, but haven't spent much time there. It was an amazing area. So much energy for the fight. People were fun. Everything was 100% open. Obviously, you know, big parties everywhere. No COVID restrictions. I'm still recovering 5 days in a row at my age. I'm like, oh man, it takes me a few days to recover, but feeling a little better today.
That's it, man. That's it. I know it ends up catching up to you. Even since I crossed the 30 threshold, I just used to be able to fire the drinks into me, but not anymore, man. If I drink one night hard, I'm at least 2 days, so I can't even imagine doing the week. But let's get into the card here. We'll save the best stuff for last. Right off the hop, Israel Adesanya returns to the middleweight division, defeats Vettori by unanimous decision. The first fight he won by a split. This time, not even close. Absolutely won big. How did you feel about that fight?
Man, again, it was a great fight. I thought it was very similar to the first fight. You know, with Vettori, he's extremely tough. Just comes forward and attacks, goes for takedowns. But Izzy was just one step ahead, just landing slightly better stand-up. I mean, he was getting hit back. You know, Vettori made it a close fight. He got some takedowns. That's where I was impressed is when he got taken down, I wasn't sure how Izzy was going to do, but he did a better job of getting back to his feet and getting reversals. He used the cage to kick off and sweep him a couple times. He was smart on top. Once he almost got tapped with leg lock, he backed up. I thought Izzy made big improvements and did good. But Vettori fought great as well. He just couldn't quite outland him.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened there. And then you got Adesanya after the fight. He calls out Robert Whitaker again. It seems like he's on the path to want to get some of these losses back that maybe were a little bit closer, because I believe they've already fought before. Whitaker, Bobby Knuckles, he's tough as nails. How do you see that fight going for him? I think Adesanya is definitely the big dog in that division. Like you said, Vettori, if he can't crack Adesanya, who's going to crack him? Because that Italian kid's tough, man. Didn't stop coming forward.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously a big fan of Whitaker, and I like him a lot. But, I mean, I'm picking Izzy against anyone at 85 right now. He's the king of the division. He deserves to be picked. And I think it'll be a good fight, but I see Izzy going out there and picking him apart and good chance of getting a knockout again. He's just so sharp, so confident, so good at that weight. At 205, he showed he wasn't quite big enough. You know, the guys that out-muscled him. He's not doesn't really look like a big 85-pounder. He looks like he kind of walks around maybe like 195, 200. So he's small for that weight even, but he's just so sharp and so impressive on his feet. And he did, like I said, he did a good job of getting back to his feet in his last fight.
Absolutely. So obviously, moving on here, Nate was the big star of the night, but man, Brandon Moreno here's the new champion. He defeats Figueroa. That was a great match after they had fought to a draw, come back out, and Moreno beats him, and he ends up actually finishing him by submission. First off, were you surprised to see that with everything that Davidson Figueroa has done? And second of all, what was like the reception like for Moreno? Because I know it must have been nuts for Nate, but it really sounded like the people in Arizona were going hard for the kid.
Yeah, first, I didn't pick Moreno. I thought it would be a good fight to pick Figueroa, and Moreno he delivered. He looked amazing. Huge adjustments from his last fight. Huge improvements. Outstruck him, and then ended up, winning by a submission against, I believe a Brazilian black belt. Dominated the guy, and just huge improvements. And yeah, he's turning into a megastar, like you said. The crowd just loved him. I was surprised at how popular it was. From the press conference, the weigh-in, they were going crazy for him. The crowd was really behind him, and him being the first Mexican, or the first, person actually from Mexico to be the UFC champ, I think that's huge. Mexico is a huge fighting country. You look at the historic boxing, I think this is sure Dana White's loving this. They can push this kid to turn him into a superstar down there. And probably all of Latin America.
Yeah, absolutely. The last pick in the Ultimate Fighter, the season he was on, the last guy picked in the house, cut in 2018 from the UFC, fights his way back in, and now he's champion. You love to see it. So they fight to a draw, right? Figgy and Moreno. The first fight, they have to run it back, obviously, here. Moreno beats him now. Figueroa's already come out and asked for an immediate rematch from Moreno. They do the draw, but then he wins it in your mind, if you're Moreno, do you think you owe it to Figueiredo to do an immediate rematch, to do it 3 times in a row? Or are you maybe taking a look at someone along the lines of like Askarov or that Pantoja is a good fighter too? Do you maybe kind of look down the line there? I don't think Moreno owes him anything personally. That's how I feel.
I don't
but
think he owes him.
Figgy does.
If it was 1-1, I would say yeah. But the first one was a draw and he won. I think Figueiredo needs to go there and win, especially since he won in decisive fashion. It wasn't controversial. He dominated this fight. It wasn't close. Went out there, finished him. I believe it was the third. Outstruck him. Beat him in jiu-jitsu. I don't think he needs to earn the rematch. So I think I can't say the guy's name. What you just said. That guy.
Askarov. Yeah.
That would be an interesting match. So I don't know this division that well, but that name stands out. He looked great.
Yeah, he definitely looked great. Now, speaking of looking great, guys, I want to let you know that if you go to fusionfightgear.com right now and use promo code Jake AJJ, all capital letters, fusionfightgear.com, you'll save 20% off of any purchase. Rash guard, gi. They have tons of stuff, tons of branded stuff, a lot of fun, looks real cool. And for the people listening down under Australia, New Zealand, go on over to Pancho Michael. That's PanchoMichael.com.au. Same promo code Jake AJJ, 20% off. Don't want to leave you guys out. It's not all just North America. This is a worldwide sport. Now, speaking of worldwide and worldwide superstars, I know it's easy to gas your friends up, but come on. I know Nate didn't get maybe the result, but like he's a bigger star than he's ever been. And his stock went up regardless of what happened in that fight.
Yeah, his star power is absolutely unreal. You know, I've known Nate since he's 16. I've known a ton of famous people, both fighters and not fighters, actors, and hanging out with him now is just it's you can't even explain it. You know, you walk into a club and it's like when Mayweather would walk in, they shut the place down, like it just goes absolutely crazy from the press conference, the weigh-ins. I just couldn't believe the crowd reaction. And Nick's a brilliant marketer. People don't give him credit for it. They're like, oh, but he knows what he's doing. Like the press conference, perfect example. Vettori and Izzy are yelling at each other, and Nate's just like, he stole the show. They're yelling at each other, and he decides he's like, I'm bored. I'm gonna sit here and smoke a joint. Stole the show from them yelling at each other. The guy's a genius at marketing. Both him and Nick and Nate both know what they're doing.
Absolutely, man. True professionals, true legends of the sport. And if anybody doesn't think that those guys deserve every penny, Dana White, you're fucking mad. The crowd was insane. But let's go into the fight. Nate wins the fight in my mind, loses the contest. You see the fight go in the way that it was, and then all of a sudden he hits that shot in the 5th round. You're in the crowd. I texted you a little bit before that. Obviously took me into a different perspective because I've never known just how serious. To me, we're fans, right? But when you're actually watching someone you fight that you care about, that's like a fucking brother to you fight, you could really feel that seriousness from you. What's that like? And then that 5th round where he like flash knockouts him, what's going through your head in that moment?
Yeah, first, it's easy watching these fights on TV, but when you're close friends with these people, we hate it. It's hard watching Nate fight and Nick fight, Gil Melendez. Like, we hate watching each other fight. Like, Nick sometimes doesn't even come out in the room. It's his little brother. He's like, he feels responsible for him. He really can't watch him fight sometimes. It's not easy, I mean, sometimes you guys, even just being fans of these guys, I'm sure it's hard watching them lose sometimes. So it's
hell yeah,
the stress level. Sometimes you don't even want to be there. It's like, yo, man, I hate this. But yeah, I found it sometimes easier to fight than it is to corner someone you're close to. Because when you're fighting, it's in your control. When you're not fighting, it's not. And as far as the fight, I thought it was a great fight. In my opinion, it was really close. Edwards was landing good leg kicks. I think he was winning there. I think Nate was outlanding him with the boxing. I think, he was picking apart there. Edwards, I think, won the fight off the cage takedowns. That's where he impressed me. He did a good job with the cage work. He got those trips. And I wouldn't say his jiu-jitsu looked phenomenal, but he had phenomenal jiu-jitsu defense, a lot better than I expected. Yep. He had good position. He knew how to, get on the back without losing it. So, he really impressed me as well. But the end when Nate, the moment everyone's talking about, when Nate almost knocked him out last 30 seconds, he was rocked bad. And the thing is, I think Nate didn't realize how bad he was hurt. He hit him with that hard straight punch, and Edwards was wobbling. But the problem is Nate had cut in his eye, blood in his eye, so he couldn't see very good. So he looked up. That's why he waited a second, and then after he stood there for a couple seconds, then he realized how hurt he was. But then he already gave him about 5 seconds to recover, and he almost got the finish. But I think if he hadn't had that cut and hadn't had the sweat in his eye and stuff, he would have saw it right away and went in for the finish. But
yeah,
But ultimately, you know, I thought he fought great, even though he lost. I think, like I said, a stock raise. We went out after, and people just, you know, just going nuts, swarming us. Can't even go out. But you know, it raised Edward's stock too. You know, I became a fan, and I would love to see him get a title shot.
Hell yeah, he's the next guy in line for the title, 110%. They can't run from him. They can't hide from him anymore in that division. Edwards is the man. Nate obviously fought an incredible fight. Like you said, had the cut. Now, there's always people that say, oh, Diaz cuts easy, da-da-da. That elbow he took, that would have cut anybody. No, that was vicious.
Yeah, I know it was a great elbow, but Diaz does have a ton of scar tissue. He has too much scar tissue, so he does cut easier. So it is a factor, but it definitely landed a good elbow as well.
Yeah, that was a vicious elbow. There was really not a whole hell of a lot he could do. Now, I want to come through it here and talk to you. You were just with him. We talk about it all the time, but I'm going to ask you this because I'm a pain in the ass. You're with Nick. Janus changed his tune, said Nick's going to be fighting. Don't want to put you in a bad spot. Don't have to say anything, but like, are we getting closer to this happening now? Are their names starting to come around? I'm not going to put you on the spot. I don't want to put anybody in a bad position here, but are we moving along with a Nick Diaz fight? Because the Diaz brothers are the fucking kings of the UFC right now and the kings of MMA, in my opinion. Like that was electric.
Yeah, like they don't have an opponent for him yet, but Nick is training and he's serious about it. He wants to jump out there and fight. It's a matter of Dana putting a match together, and a big match. I mean, he deserves a superstar match. You know, like we've been talking about. You know, pay's been the big talk of fighters lately, and Nick wants to go out there and get a good payday. He's older. You know, he's nearing 40. He's probably got a couple fights left, but he's still a megastar. You look and see what a star Nate is, and Nick's just right there below him. Nick was always the bigger star. His whole career, Nick was a bigger star, but with those couple fights that Nate had, you know, he passed him up with Conor McGregor and whatnot. But still, Nick could easily come up and be a bigger star again, or they could be equal. I think both of them push each other's star power.
Absolutely, man. They're a force together, all you guys. Like, just the respect that I noticed the media and people on Twitter were showing, because it's so easy to have people be disrespectful on that app. But when you guys and everyone were in the house, everyone knew that it was like the OGs of the fight game were there. It was fucking cool from my end to be sitting there, taking that in, knowing that we do this show, seeing all the respect that you guys deserve in that sport. And I just hope Nick gets a damn good fight. He deserves a damn good fight. Cowboy, Tony Ferguson, there's a bunch of guys I'd like to see Nick get in the ring with. We could play, or in the octagon with. We could play matchmaker for another day. But after the fight, we'd have to talk about him every single week. Jake Paul rears his big 22-year-old multi-millionaire head and says that after he knocks out Tyron Woodley, he's going to knock out Nate Diaz. How much would you love to see that fight? Not only so one of your friends can make one of these mega paydays, but I mean, if Tyron can't do it, certainly Nate's the guy to do it, to sit this kid down.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I mean, he's got a really tough fight in front of him. He has to get through Tyron Woodley. I don't know if he's going to do that, but if he does, I think Nate would be perfect. I think Nate's style is not going to be good for him. Nate's pressure, his rangy. He's actually gone in there and boxed a lot of pro boxers. A lot of MMA guys don't go and box pro boxers. They do, you know, MMA training always with takedowns and kicks. Nate's actually spent a lot of time working his boxing, so it's Jake's going to be in for a rude awakening, and Nate doesn't get tired. He can keep going and putting the pressure. I think it'd be a knockout, but like you said, it'd be a mega payday. So I would love to see it. I'm sure they'd go in there, and it would be as big as the Mayweather versus Logan Paul fight. Like I said, Nate's a superstar now.
Yeah, he's in that level. You felt the change this past week, even more so than when he came out against Masvidal and they did the bad motherfucker. His stock, like we said, we can sit here and talk about it all day. It rose. He says he wants to fight again in 3 to 4 months. You think that actually happens, or like, I don't understand how these things work, and maybe you can give us an insight. Are all fighters on like certain set amount of fight contracts? And if that's true, how many years left do these guys have? And is Nick still in a contract too? Because I know George can't even box De La Hoya because of his contract, which is stupid, because what the hell does Dana need from GSP now at 40 whatever years old and no intention to fight?
Yeah, these contracts get confusing, but usually they have to offer you, I think it's like 2 to 3 fights a year, so it's up to you if you take them. I think the problem with someone like GSP, he's not taking the fights, so I think he's stuck almost forever. Which there should be a way for these clauses to end after like 5 years or 3 years or 4 years. It's ridiculous they can hold you for life. So it'd be nice to make some kind of changes to these contracts. Obviously, some of them are different than others, but I'm not sure exactly what Nate's is, but I'm sure they have to offer him like at least 2 fights a year. So, but sometimes it can take a little while to find a proper opponent. Nate's so big they can't just throw anyone at him. They need super fights for him. So he's not like if you're the matchmaker, you got to like pick carefully, because this guy's this guy's a megastar, probably their second biggest star right now. So they got to pick the proper fights.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think when Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor go at it next month, I mean, I really have a hard time seeing Conor getting through Poirier. I think Poirier is an absolute machine. If you know that third trilogy fight, we got that fight's coming. It has to be coming. There's no way.
Yeah, I think clearly if Conor loses, that's definitely the fight I would make. The trilogy fight, that's a superstar fight, regardless. Even if they're both coming off losses, everyone wants to see that. But I think if Dustin loses as well, that's a huge fight. I mean, Dustin versus Nate would be massive. So there's lots of good fights. I think it'd be nice to see Nate back at 155s or a catch weight, 160, 165. He's a little small on the 70, but he still went and almost beat the number one contender at 170, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, man, it was unbelievable. And like you said, Edwards is just such a damn good fighter as well. And Nate, there's guys in the division. I don't care. I'm not gonna put anyone's name on blast, but there's guys that don't want to fight Edwards for a reason. You can tell. And a guy like Colby or whatever just tried to dust him off to the side and he's just waited around for Usman like Masvidal did. These guys aren't fighting Edwards. Nate comes in, does a great job. If it was one championship, Nate would win that fight. Those little cage takedowns, those don't mean shit in the way that they score. They score the fights, the entire card as a bout. So the significant strikes and everything else, Nate probably wins that fight there. But good on Edwards. He's a real contender. He proved himself to be one of the best in the division. There was a great fight. Speaking of great fights, we have a good fight coming up, Jake, this weekend. It is the Korean Zombie taking on Dan 50K Ige. You know him. You train at the same gym as him. How's Dan looking?
Dan looks great. He's a guy who puts his jiu-jitsu, his striking, and wrestling. He puts it together really well. If you're just boxing him, he's pretty good. You're just doing jiu-jitsu, he's pretty good. You're just wrestling, he's pretty good. But when he mixes all three, he's like a true MMA fighter. So he blends them perfectly together. But I think the guy he's fighting is very similar. This is an extremely exciting fight with both knockout power, both submission artists. So I can't wait to see it.
No, me either. I can't wait to see that as well. It's going to be a good test for him. I mean, this is a slingshot fight. I think he's sitting at number 8 in the division. Korean Zombie number 4. You win this, boom, you slingshot yourself into that top 5. You're maybe 1 to 2 fights away from a title. So I mean, I'm certain. What's the mood like in the gym? Are people really heavy on his training coming into this fight? Is that something that happens as a guy has a fight coming on? More of the focus with the training partners and that goes into that guy, or how do you kind of delegate that work within the gym?
Well, it's more Eric mostly runs his camps, but I help out a little bit with jiu-jitsu. He's a very receptive guy. Sometimes I'll watch him to see things, and he's always ready to pick my brain and listen to what I have to say. So he's a guy that's always trying to learn. But Eric's kind of running his camp, and Eric's been there's a lot of guys in Extreme, so it's hard. So you got to kind of watch a lot of people. But when he gets close to his fight, he gets the big cage every day, and they kind of pick his partners and put him in there. And he's like I said, I've been watching his sparring. He's been looking great.
That's awesome. That's going to be a real test for him. The Korean Zombie is just a fantastic fighter himself. What do you think he has to do to break through and beat him?
It's an interesting fight because they're both good stand-up on ground. But I think Ige will stay a little ahead on the stand-up. I think he'll pick him apart a little bit, get takedown, ground and pound, maybe look for a submission. It's not going to be easy, but I see Ige pulling out maybe a knockout or a decision.
Love it. Looking forward to that, putting it in. And quickly, I just wanted to go through. We have the same last name, no relation. Clarissa Shields wins her fight at the PFL. 3rd round. I'm not going to lie, looked pretty rough for the first 2 rounds, but found a way to adjust and win the fight. Did you see anything for her to continue to build on there? I saw that the social media aspect was 50-50. I thought she showed a lot of heart to pull out the W regardless of how her performance was.
Yeah, first off, she's a Shield, so I always root for her just because maybe we're related back there somehow, some way. So I'm always rooting for Shields. I've been watching her. I've been seeing her since she's boxed just because the last name I see. I'm like, oh, cool. It's a Shields out there. So I was a little confused the fight night. I kept seeing my name on Twitter. I'm like, wait, what's going on? Then realized it wasn't me. But as far as the fight, yeah, she had trouble. I mean, she's brand new to MMA. It takes a long time to learn grappling. She showed she's not ready to fight someone like Kayla Harris or something. She's a ways off from that, but she stayed composed. She did her thing and went out there and won the fight late. So she did what she had to do, and she's taking it serious and will keep improving.
No, exactly. All you can do is really is really continue to go into the gym and put that work in and build those skills. But the fact that she overcame and was able to do it was super, super impressive. The trip, everything that happened, how you feeling being back in the fight game now, being at these events, cornering, being more involved? How's that going with you? How you finding the first, it's been a couple months now, you're back in the game. How you liking it?
I'm really enjoying it because for a while I was out of the fight game. I got sick. I burnt out. Didn't want to watch it for a couple years. Stayed away. So it feels really good to be back, training guys, watching guys try to win world titles, being back at Nate's fight, all the guys here. So something I'm really enjoying.
Hell yeah, man. And you got to spend some time with Gilbert Melendez too. He was on the broadcast. He couldn't wait to get out of there to come party with you guys. You should have heard him on the broadcast. He basically just signed off. It was party time.
Yeah, it was great being back with Nick, Nate, Gil, the crew. It's like, the gang back together. We've all been so close for 20 years and to all be back together. And obviously leading for the fight, Nate couldn't party. He was, making weight, stressed out, but still seeing him was good. And then I was out with, Nick most of the week. And then after was great. Nate I did have the massive after party at his mansion that he got. There was a ton of people showing up. The cops ended up showing up. They were really cool. They just didn't let hundreds of people stay. So we had to get rid of some of the people. They stayed all night to watch the place, and good time. Had a party that went all night.
Did the Nelk boys show up? Did you guys party with those guys?
Who's that?
Those Nelk boy, those like influencer kids. I saw Nate and Nick with Steve and Kyle, I think their names are. They're huge like influencer kids.
I'm not sure who they are, so maybe I wouldn't have there's mostly white people there, so no one probably would hardly know who they were.
I love that, man. Someone made me ask if you guys partied with the Nelk boys and ask you how that was, but I even told them I don't think Jake will really know what the fucking Nelk boy is. You're probably just there talking with the fighters.
Yeah, I'll have to look them up, but it's possible.
That's hilarious, bro. That's hilarious. Well, look, man, I won't keep you too long. You had a big week. You were on a little bit of a bender there, 5 straight days of the party, and I'll catch up to you.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've done that. That's like what I was doing when I was younger, but it was Scottsdale was a blast. It was good being around my friends again. So I was like, why not? And we didn't get too crazy every night, just a couple of the nights.
That's it, man. Now, what's a little fun, right? That's what you got to do, guys. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell, and tune in next Wednesday at 3 p.m. We'll be back with another episode, man. We'll catch you next week.
Cool. Thanks. Have a good one.
Peace.